Study of Emerging Banking Regulation. This is the title of our project. Now let's see the abstract of our project. Banking regulation are the one by which the bank should be abide by its rule. Every bank have their own regulations. Even the government have their regulations by which the other banks, that is the private banks, need to be abide by its rule. So our proposal is to implement an effective framework for the automation of validating the banking regulation. By our framework we can able to determine which bank is abide by its government regulation and which is not. So if the bank does not abide by its government regulation, we can able to cut out its license. So first we need to acquire the bank regulation in order to verify the regulation with the other. Government regulation of the bank will be containing the rate of interest, the area, as well as how much money they are lending for the customers. Everything will be included in the bank regulation. That is the factor which is defined in the bank should be carried by the other banks. So by our automated system we can able to determine which banks are abide by this government regulation and which is not. Suppose if the bank is abide by its government regulation, then it will be okay, or else if the bank is not abide by its government regulation, every regulation will be deals with the financial norms of the bank. That is every bank financial statement will be carried out as per the government regulation. Suppose if there is a controversy between the government regulation as well, then the license of the bank should be cut out. Now let's see the data flow diagram of our project. Data flow diagram of our project is categorized into 4 parts. First one is banking regulation. Banking regulation, the acquisition of the first the user need to provide the bank regulation on which the analysis will be carried out. Then it will be structured into a format which can be processed in more effective way. Here the bank regulation, every bank regulation will be checked out by means of every factor acquired. Then we are able to finalize the report. Then proceed to the next data flow. Next we proceed to the further process. This is the second data flow diagram of our project, which is called as evaluating interest. Here after the finalization of the bank regulation, it will be acquired. Here we need to comment the overall banking regulation as well as the government regulation into the database. This is the third data flow diagram of our project. After acquiring the government regulation as well as the bank regulation, it will be carried for this evaluating banks process. In this the determination of those regulation will be taking place. After that the evaluation will be taking place. The evaluation includes the process of precision recall as well as the controversial rate. So by those factors we can able to determine which bank have the most controversial rate. So from this we can able to determine which bank regulation is far away from the government regulation. So by doing this we can able to determine the controversy of the bank regulation by our automated system. So after the evaluation process, the overall finalized information will be processed for filtering. During this filtering, the information is sorted out by means of various factors, which includes the controversial rate as well as the precision recall. So by those factors we can able to determine the controversy of the controversy of the bank regulation. Then it will be processed for the blacklisting. In blacklisting we will have some bank list which license have to be question processed, seeing their loan funds, profitable parameters. So by calculating every parameters we can able to determine the controversial rate from which should be abide by the government regulation. So by doing this we can able to automatically determine the which bank is controversial and which is not, and we can able to determine which bank license need to be cancelled. Thank you. Now let's see the demo of our project. Home screen of our project. Here the only authenticated people can able to make use of this application. Here the username and password will be of admin. Need to select the regulations of the bank. After that we need to upload the bank regulation in our database. So after acquiring the every bank regulation, these are the various parameters by which the bank is carrying out. So bank regulation will be proceeding for the further process. Here this will list out the various kind of bank, which bank regulation we need to be processed. Here we need to select any one of the bank. I am selecting the Atlanta bank. Here user need to confirm the bank. After the confirmation user couldn't able to modify or change the bank for which he need to be validate. After that we can able to determine the rate at which the bank is carrying out. Proceed with this. As well as we need to acquire the bank regulation. Here the bank that we selected will be displayed here, and let's proceed with this. After that we need to acquire the bank regulation. Then we need to generate the parameters, that is we can able to determine the bank regulation in the more detailed form. After building the information, let's proceed. Here we need to acquire the government regulation in a more detailed form. After that, we need to determine. During this determination process, the present recall of this bank regulation as well as the bank that we are processing will be get calculated. So after the calculation of this parameter, we can able to determine we need to acquire the government regulation. The analyzation will be take place. During this analyzation, the parameters of the bank will be displayed here. That is, we can able to determine the values of the field by which the bank is carrying out the process. Able to calculate the present recall as well as the controversial rate. Suppose if the controversial rate is exceeds the threshold value, then it will be, if the controversial rate is exceed the threshold value, then the backlist count will be incremented. Let's check it out. Here, since it exceed the threshold value, the blacklist count will be incremented. We need to check out for every fields. After processing the every fields, we need to generate the report for this bank. After the creation of the bank, this bank will be removed from our database. So let's see here, the bank that we validated will not be here because it will be removed from the database. We need to generate a report for this bank. After that bank will be removed from our database. Likewise, we need to proceed for every bank. Likewise, we need to proceed for every bank. So after determining every controversial rate of the banking regulation, we can able to acquire the list. These are the banks along with the blacklist count. The bank with the highest blacklist count will be the bank which license has to be cancelled. So after the determination, we can able to sort out the bank need to be after that we can able to determine that Lumina bank license need to be cancelled. So from our automated system, we can able to determine which banks are abide by this government regulation and which is not. So that the bank which is not abide by this government regulation, that license has to be cancelled. Thank you.